A hero's instinct. The city streets hummed with life, honking cars, distant chatter, neon signs flickering against the night. Jalen Carter wasn't looking for trouble. Trouble found him. 1 second he was crossing the street. The next, screeching brakes, a flash of red, a child frozen in fear. Jalen's body moved before his mind could catch up. A sprint, a dive, a gasp from the crowd. The child landed safely in his arms. The speeding car missed by inches. Cheers, relief. A mother sobbing as she clutched her child. But then, sirens, commands, guns drawn. Hands behind your head! Now! Jalen turned slowly. 2 officers, faces tight with control. The hero was now a suspect, wrongfully accused. Jalen raised his hands, heart pounding. He knew the drill. I just saved that kid. His voice was calm, controlled. The taller cop, Officer Reynolds, ignored him. Suspect matches the description, he muttered. Jalen's chest tightened. What description? The shorter officer, Mills, hesitated. He had seen Jalen save the child, but Reynolds wasn't backing down. The crowd stirred, uneasy. Phones were raised, cameras recording. The mother stepped forward, voice shaking. He's not a criminal. He saved my son. Reynolds' eyes flickered, but then came the baton. A sharp strike to Jalen's shoulder. Pain exploded, but he stayed standing. The crowd roared in protest. But Jalen, he knew something they didn't. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The shift in power tension crackled in the air. The crowd was no longer just watching, they were witnesses. Then, a voice from the crowd. Wait, that's not him! Heads turned. A young man held up his phone, screen glowing in the dark. Live footage. The real suspect, already caught miles away. Reynolds froze. Mills took a step back. Doubt. Hesitation. The shift of power. But instead of admitting the mistake, Reynolds doubled down. With rage in his eyes, he shoved Jalen hard. Jalen barely stumbled, but that was it. The crowd had seen enough. The call that changed everything. That's assault, someone shouted. Phones zoomed in. The world was watching. Then, the radios crackled. All units, release the suspect immediately. That's an order. The command was final, unshakable. Reynolds' face twisted in disbelief. Mills, already sweating, lowered his hands. The tide had turned. And just as Reynolds opened his mouth to argue, a black SUV pulled up. The back door swung open. Someone with real power had arrived. The authority steps in. A man stepped out. Not a cop, not a politician. Someone higher. Suit, tie loosened, a presence heavier than a badge. He scanned the scene, eyes sharp. Then he spoke. Drop the baton. Let the man go, now. His voice wasn't loud, but it didn't need to be. The weight of authority settled over Reynolds like a chain. For the first time, he wasn't the one in control. The reckoning Reynolds' fingers twitched. His grip on the baton tightened. For a moment, Jalen thought he might swing again, might push his luck. Then, the man in the suit tilted his head. Do you even know who you just assaulted? Silence. Then the words that shattered everything. Jalen Carter, former firefighter, saved 5 lives in a building collapse, national hero. The crowd gasped. Murmurs turned into shouts. Reynolds went pale. Jalen? He just exhaled slowly, because now he wasn't the one on trial. The collapse of a corrupt officer, phones buzzed. News alerts flooded in. The footage was already viral. The man in the suit took a step closer. You have 2 choices. Kneel now, or kneel later in court. Reynolds' jaw clenched. He had lost. Mills, he had already backed away. Then Reynolds' knees hit the pavement. The crowd exploded. Justice. Served. The consequences within an hour. Reynolds was suspended. Mills resigned. The video? Exploding across the internet. Jalen? He sat in his small apartment watching the news. He wasn't a hero. He never wanted to be. But tonight, he had won. Then, his phone buzzed. Unknown number. We could use someone like you. Let's talk. Jalen stared at the screen. Justice had been served, but maybe his fight wasn't over yet.